my stomach. I can't drink it.
Oh, it's all right. Just try a little sip.
No, I don't like it.
Drink, my child. I will give you Biscuit.
It all started on a quiet Sunday afternoon in Asokoro Extension, Abuja. Drink my urine. I will give you Biscuit. The voice came from an 80-year-old woman. In front of her stood 2-year-old Sofia. But that terrible moment did not begin that afternoon. It began days earlier. Sofia's mother, Grace, had followed her friend to a newly opened church close to their estate. The church was called Divine Fire Restoration Ministry. Wait, before we continue, smash that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss amazing African folktale stories like this. Hit the like button if this story moved you. It really helps our channel grow. Comment below. Tell us where you're watching from and which part of the story touched you the most. I want to see all your thoughts. And if you're craving more African folktales, check out the Bumped app on the Play Store. Hundreds of stories waiting for you. Okay, now let's get back to the story. The service was intense. Shouting, falling, dramatic prayers. Then suddenly, the pastor stopped mid-sermon. You there, woman in yellow, come forward with your child. Grace froze. People turned to look at her. She slowly walked forward carrying Sofia. The pastor, Prophet Samuel Bright, stared at the little girl in a strange way. His expression changed instantly. His voice became cold. Madam, your daughter will die in 3 days. The entire church gasped. Grace's heart dropped. What? Pastor, please, she's my only child, she cried, shaking. He closed his eyes dramatically, as if receiving a vision. A spirit of sudden death has been assigned to her. Grace fell to her knees. What should I do? The pastor opened his eyes slowly. Bring the new car your husband just bought for you. Sow it as a seed before sunset today. If you do that, one prayer from me will cancel her death. Fear swallowed her completely. Without thinking twice, Grace rushed home, picked up the brand new SUV her husband Michael had bought for her, and drove straight back to the church. She handed over the keys. The pastor smiled faintly. Faith is powerful. He placed his hand on Sofia's head and murmured fake prayers. That night, when Michael returned home and heard what happened, he was furious. You gave away our car because of prophecy, he shouted. He didn't believe in manipulation. Immediately, he drove to the church, demanded the keys back, and he drove the car home. Never step into that church again, he warned his wife. Inside his office, the pastor's face darkened. You will regret embarrassing me, he muttered. He picked up his phone. Get ready. They are on their way home. Follow the plan strictly. That same evening, as Michael drove his family home, an old woman suddenly stepped into the middle of the road. Michael slammed the brakes, but it was too late. The car hit her lightly. She fell. Grace screamed. Michael rushed out immediately. Mama, are you okay? The old woman groaned weakly. My waist, my back. Let's take you to the hospital, Michael insisted. But she held his hand tightly. No hospital, please. Just take me to your house. I will stay only 3 days. I don't want to die alone. Grace looked at her husband. They felt guilty. After a short argument, they agreed to take her home. That night, something strange happened. The old woman refused to use the toilet. She said, I need a bucket. Grace was confused. But why, Mama? Please, just a bucket. Reluctantly, Grace gave her one. The old woman pretended to dispose of it later, but secretly she preserved her urine in a hidden container inside her room. She was waiting because she had 3 days to complete an assignment. Saturday morning, Michael left for work. Grace prepared to go to the market, but the old woman pleaded, "Please leave the child with me. I will be lonely." Grace hesitated, but she agreed. After she left, the compound became silent. The old woman locked her room door gently. She brought out the hidden container. The smell filled the room. She poured some into a glass cup. Then she turned to little Sofia. "Drink this and I will give you Biscuit." Sofia frowned. "But Grandma, it smells." The old woman forced a smile. "It is sweet. I will buy you toy." She muttered under her breath. "How do I make this stubborn girl drink it? The pastor gave me 3 days. Suddenly, her phone rang. She froze. When she saw the caller ID, she smiled. It was the pastor. "Hello, Papa," she whispered. "Everything is going according to plan. They both went out. I am alone with the child." "Good," the pastor replied. "Once she drinks it for 3 days, she won't be normal again. Then it will look like my prophecy was true." They both laughed quietly. At the market, Grace suddenly remembered. "My phone! I forgot my phone at home." Her heart began to beat fast for no reason. She quickly locked her shop and rushed home. Meanwhile, inside the house, the old woman lifted the cup again. Just small. She held the child firmly. Sofia resisted because of the smell, but the old woman forced the cup to her lips. Sofia swallowed. Just then, the gate opened. Grace pushed the door open. Before Grace could step fully inside the room, Sofia had already drank the urine. She stood there innocently, holding the empty cup in her small hands. "What are you giving my daughter?" She stood at the doorway, breathing heavily. Sofia held the empty cup. "It's water, Mommy." "Yes, Mommy, water," Sofia repeated. Grace noticed the yellowish color, but brushed it aside. She trusted her daughter. She trusted the old woman. That night, Sofia began to cry uncontrollably. Her stomach started swelling before their eyes. "Michael, something is wrong." And that was the beginning of the nightmare. That night was chaos. Sofia's cries pierced through the house like something was tearing her from the inside. Her stomach started swelling, slowly at first, then rapidly. Grace screamed, "Michael, look at her stomach!" Michael rushed in. His heart nearly stopped. The little girl's abdomen was expanding unnaturally, then shrinking, then expanding again. Sofia cried weakly, "Mommy, it hurts." Michael didn't waste time. He carried her in his arms and they rushed to the hospital. At the emergency unit, doctors ran from one machine to another. Blood tests, scans, ultrasound, everything. Grace stood outside shaking, praying loudly. Michael paced the corridor, sweat dripping down his face. After hours, the doctor called Michael aside. His face was serious. "Sir, we've done every test possible." "And?" asked Michael desperately. "We can't find anything medically wrong." "What do you mean you can't find anything?" "Her organs are normal, her blood is normal, there's no infection, no blockage, nothing." Grace overheard and broke down immediately. "Pastor Samuel warned us. He said she would die in 3 days. The doctor looked uncomfortable. "Sir, you may need to consider spiritual help." Those words hit Michael like thunder. He looked at his daughter through the glass window. Machines beeping, her stomach expanding again. fear began to creep into his heart.
Wait! You can enjoy more stories from our Bombed app on Play Store. Go over to Play Store, search for Bombed, install the app instantly for free. Hundreds of stories waiting for you to watch absolutely for free. Or check the description of this video. The app link is there. Open it and download Bombed app instantly today. See you on Bombed.
Back at home, the old woman sat quietly in her room. Then she picked up her phone. "Papa," she whispered. "Yes," the pastor answered. "I gave her the urine. They rushed her to the hospital. The stomach is swelling already." The pastor laughed softly. "Good. It is time for plan B." Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sofia's condition worsened. Her stomach swelled again before their eyes. Grace grabbed Michael's shirt. "Can you not see the prophecy is working? He told us." Michael felt trapped. Fear was swallowing logic. Without thinking further, he carried Sofia. "Let's go." They drove straight to the pastor's house. The pastor welcomed them with a heavy sigh. "I warned you," he said slowly. Michael fell to his knees. "Please, save my daughter. I will return the car." The pastor shook his head. "No." Grace gasped. "No? You insulted the altar. You collected back what was sown." He leaned forward. "If you want your daughter alive, bring $100,000. Michael stared at him. "What? If you don't bring it before tomorrow morning, she will die." Grace screamed and held her daughter tightly. Michael's world felt like it was collapsing. "I don't have that kind of money," he said weakly. "That is your problem," the pastor replied coldly. "Watch your daughter die." He turned and walked away. Inside his room, he smiled darkly. "Foolish man, I paid that old woman to make your daughter drink her urine. You refuse to sow your seed? This is the punishment." Meanwhile, inside his room, the pastor picked up his phone and called the old woman. "Everything is going as planned," he said with a smile. Michael and Grace left the pastor's house shattered. Sofia's stomach kept swelling and shrinking inside the car. She cried weakly. Michael made a decision. He began selling everything. His house sold far below value. His car, gone. He called friends, begged, borrowed, cried. Within hours, he gathered a huge amount, though still incomplete. Back home, the old woman pretended to be concerned. "Don't worry," she said softly. "Once the pastor prays, she will be fine." Michael looked at Sofia. Her belly swelled again. Tears rolled down his face. He packed the money into a large bag. He said, "I'm going." He walked toward the pastor's office that night. The door was slightly open. He was about to knock. Then he heard the pastor's voice inside. "No mistake at all," the pastor said on the phone. Michael froze. His heart stopped beating. "And the foolish man will run back to me with money." The pastor laughed. "He doesn't know I'm the one who made his daughter sick." Tears streamed down Michael's face. His hands were shaking violently. The world around him went silent. Everything suddenly made sense, and his life was about to change forever. Michael stood outside the pastor's office. His heart was pounding so loudly he feared it would give him away. Inside the room, Pastor Samuel was still speaking on the phone. "Yes, no mistake at all. Once she drinks it for 3 days, the sickness will grow. By now, the girl should be worse." Michael's vision blurred with tears. "The old woman did exactly what I instructed," the pastor continued. "The foolish man doesn't know I arranged everything." He refused to sow seed. Michael felt something break inside him. The bag of money slipped slightly from his trembling hands. He pressed his phone tighter, making sure the recording was clear. Then the pastor laughed. "I will collect the money and the girl will still die." That was the final blow. Michael pushed the door open. The pastor jumped in shock. "You! How long have you been standing there?" he stammered. Michael didn't answer. His face was pale, his eyes were red. Without saying a word, he turned around and walked out. The pastor tried to follow him, but Michael was already gone, straight to the police station. Within hours, police officers stormed the pastor's house. He tried to deny everything, but Michael played the recording. The room went silent. The pastor's face drained of color. At the same time, officers were sent to Michael's house. The old woman was arrested immediately. She cried and begged. "It was the pastor. He paid me. I only did what he asked." At the police station, both of them confessed. The pastor admitted how he staged the accident, how he paid the old woman, how he instructed her to make the child drink her urine so the prophecy would look real. Everything was exposed. Justice was finally catching up. But something far worse was happening elsewhere. While the pastor and the old woman were being interrogated, Sofia was fighting for her life at the hospital. Her stomach had grown even bigger. Doctors were confused. Machines beeped rapidly. Nurses moved in and out of the room. Grace was crying uncontrollably beside her daughter's bed. "Please, baby, stay with mommy." Sofia's breathing became weaker, slower. Her tiny fingers twitched. Then the machine made a long, continuous sound. The doctor rushed in. They tried everything: CPR, oxygen, injections. But it was too late. Sofia stopped breathing. At the police station, Michael's phone rang. He answered immediately. It was the hospital. "Sir, you need to come." Something in the doctor's tone made his knees weak. "No," he whispered. He rushed out of the station. When he arrived at the hospital, he saw Grace on the floor screaming, "My baby, my baby." Michael walked slowly toward the bed. Sofia was lying still, peaceful, too peaceful. He touched her small hand, cold. His legs gave way. He collapsed and cried like a child. All the money, all the exposure, all the arrests, it changed nothing. Their daughter was gone. Meanwhile, the pastor and the old woman were charged to court. They were later sentenced to prison. But justice did not bring back a child. It did not heal a mother's broken heart. It did not erase a father's guilt. Michael blamed himself. Grace blamed herself. "I told you to let him pray," she cried bitterly. "I warned you about fake prophecies," Michael replied through tears. Their home became silent, empty. What started as fear ended in tragedy. And Michael learned the hardest lesson of his life. Blind faith can destroy everything. The hospital room was silent, too silent. Grace refused to let go of Sofia's body. "She's just sleeping," she kept whispering. "She will wake up." But Sofia did not wake up. Michael stood by the wall numb. He couldn't cry anymore. It felt like something inside him had died too. 2 days later, they buried their daughter. The small white coffin looked too tiny, too unfair. Family members gathered. Neighbors whispered. Some cried. Some blamed. Grace fainted twice during the burial. When the coffin was lowered into the ground, Michael felt his chest tighten. This was the same child who used to run into his arms. The same little girl who called him daddy every evening. Now, gone. As soil covered the coffin, Michael's tears finally returned. He wept openly, and the guilt began to grow. After the burial, their house felt empty. Sofia's toys were still in the sitting room. Her small shoes were by the door. Grace couldn't sleep. Every night she cried. "You caused this," she suddenly screamed at Michael one evening. Michael's face hardened. Don't say that. You never believed, she cried. If you had just allowed him. If I had allowed him what? To steal from us? Silence filled the room. Pain was turning into anger. Grace began attending prayer meetings again. Different churches now. Michael stopped speaking much. They lived in the same house, but it felt like strangers. Every corner reminded them of Sofia. The marriage began to crack. Weeks passed, but the house remained frozen in time. Sofia's toys were still untouched in the corner of the sitting room. Her favorite cartoon channel still appeared first when the TV was turned on. Grace stopped cooking regularly. Sometimes she would sit on the floor of Sofia's room for hours, staring at the wall. Michael returned home one evening and found her holding Sofia's small shoe. She was just here, Grace whispered. She was just here. Michael had no words. The money he raised was gone. The house he sold was gone. The car was gone. They had moved into a smaller apartment in a quieter part of town, financially drained, emotionally destroyed. At night, Michael would hear Grace crying softly in the bathroom so he wouldn't hear her, but he always did. And every cry reminded him of that day. The prophecy, the accident, the cop, the recording, and the hospital call. Sleep abandoned both of them. Peace left the house completely. One evening, the silence finally broke. Grace turned to Michael suddenly. Do you think she would still be alive if we had ignored that church from the beginning? Michael stared at her. His voice was low. Yes. Grace began to shake. I was the one who followed my friend. I was the one who believed the prophecy. Michael closed his eyes. We were both afraid. Grace's voice rose. No, I was afraid, and my fear killed my child. Michael couldn't take it anymore. Stop saying that. She broke down completely. I let a stranger speak death over my daughter. I believed him more than I believed God. Michael sat down heavily. For the first time, both of them cried together. Not blaming, not shouting, just crying. They realized something painful. It wasn't just the pastor who destroyed their family. It was fear and manipulation and blind belief. That night, they talked for hours about everything. The red flags they ignored, the pressure from church members, the fear tactics, the shame. They both saw clearly now. But clarity came too late. News of the case spread across the state. Television stations reported it. Fake pastor arrested for child death scheme. People began discussing spiritual manipulation openly. Some neighbors came to apologize. Others quietly admitted they had also been threatened with prophecies before. One woman said, "He told me my husband would die if I didn't sow seed." Another man confessed, "He asked me for 20 million to cancel bad luck." The exposure created awareness. The church building was sealed permanently. Investigations began into other suspicious cases linked to the pastor. But while society learned a lesson, Michael and Grace were still trying to survive each day. One afternoon, Michael returned home to find Grace packing away Sofia's toys into a box. Her hands were trembling. "I can't keep looking at them," she whispered. Michael knelt beside her. They packed everything slowly. Each toy felt like a goodbye all over again. That evening, they visited Sofia's grave together. For the first time since the burial, they held hands. The pain was still there, but something else was growing. Acceptance. Not peace yet, but the beginning of healing. And deep inside, Michael made a silent vow. He would spend the rest of his life warning people about fear-driven prophecies. No other family should experience what they experienced.
So tell me, what lessons have you actually learned? I would really love to hear your comments in the comment section down below. And remember to support this channel. Please subscribe, Like the video, comment, just say something. Even a word could literally mean a whole lot. So, I want you to tell me, what lessons have you learned from this story? Trust me, these are situations that most people actually go through. I want to hear how you dealt with the situation that you were faced with.